Rotary Club number 17 of 46,000 clubs throughout the world. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Cincinnati, even on a dreary day. It's a beautiful venue to view. A couple of updates. I want to thank Owen Rassman for putting up our great blue banner on the stage here, and it looks so much better. So thanks, Owen. Changing of the guard next Thursday, where I will be handing over the reins to Lisa Licker. It's unofficial. I'll still be the president through June 30th, but and you'll see me one time later. The last meeting I'll be running as well. But it's been a pleasure to serve as your president, and look forward to Lisa taking over and taking us to the next level and Baptist after that. So without further ado, we're going to have Steve King and Jenna Metzler lead us in the national anthem. Justice Shanahan for being here today. I know she's going to have a great presentation. Have your questions ready because she will be answering questions. Without further ado, we have past President Carl Kappas with a Port Wade Test invocation.
President, you bow your heads, please. Oh God, our help in ages past and our hope for years to come, we humbly invite you to our meeting today. We thank you for Justice Shanahan and all of her good work. May we be inspired by her comments today. May today's sponsor, the Girl Scouts organization, continue to train future leaders to grow in courage, confidence, and character. And may we go forth into the world in peace, be of good courage, hold fast to what is good, return to no one evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the afflicted and the suffering, honor all people, rejoice in all that you have blessed us with, God, including our family, our friends, fellow Rotarians, and of course today's food and fellowship. We thank you, God. Amen. And now for the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
You may relax and come to me.
All right. We did have a check that fell at the signing table addressed to Alexis Grant and Dr. Consulting. Does anyone claiming this? If not, we'll go back to the house. All right. So nobody's claiming that. I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Miller, who is our guest of visiting Rotarians.
Well, we have a number of guests and visiting Rotarians and prospective members. First is Elizabeth Daniel. College of Business, and she's a guest of Chuck Marks, who's a prospective member. Karen Silver is from KTS Advocacy of people trying to get through the healthcare system. And she's also a guest of Chuck Marks. And Maureen Smith from Western Southern, a guest of Lori Wolke. And Roger Sutlet, he's retired from the Union Institute, and he's a guest of Dave Wiltsey. And Tanya Del Valle, Cincinnati Preschool Promise, and she's also a guest of Michael Schatzman. So those are our prospective members, so let's give them a hand. And then we have a visiting Rotarian, Frank Perez, who's not strictly speaking a visiting Rotarian because he is the president of our district. What's the government? And then there's Esther Manu, a guest of Manny Abbey, and also Timothy Lowe, a guest of Manny, and then John Stagg, a guest of Diane Neville. So let's
Thank you for all who are in attendance as guests, visiting Rotarians. Assistant Governor Frank Perez, you were a boss, and hopefully it's serving you well. But for all the guests and visiting Rotarians, we want you to become members of our club. We are a growing club. We want you to be part of our great work, and reach out to any one of us after the meeting to discuss more and how we become a member. It's my pleasure to introduce Tiffany Coleman, who is from the Girl Scouts of Western Ohio, is going to be today's meeting sponsor. You saw the table over here, and Tiffany is also joining as a corporate member of our club. So let's hear from Tiffany.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Hallman. I'm the Chief Development and Marketing Officer with Girl Scouts of Western Ohio. Thank you so much for having us here today. We are thrilled to be the newest corporate member here at the Rotary. I'm going to be quick. I know we have a lot of great speakers ahead of us, so I'll be quick on my piece of the conversation. But the Girl Scouts of Western Ohio, how many of you all have been Girl Scouts in your past life or still Girl Scouts, right? Most of the women here. Look at these amazing leaders. We're hoping to carry on that torch with our girls here in Cincinnati. One of the big events that we have, literally called the big event, is called Believe in Girls Expo. It's right down in Sawyer Point on Saturday, and it's an opportunity for girls, families to come out and learn more about Girl Scouts and the programs that we're doing to encourage girls to be our next leaders here in our community. You have one of these flyers on your desk, so please, or desk, tables, please take a look at them. We also have information on our Changemaker Award. The nominations are out now. Please think about the women in your lives that have made great efforts to inspire other people here in Cincinnati and nominate them to our Changemaker Award. And then lastly, Annika here, she is one of our top Girl Scout Gold Award members, or honorees, and just received that. Over and meet her today, but please, after the presentation, stop back over. Annika has a great presentation project that she worked on for her Gold Award on CPR, life-saving skills for middle schoolers, a curriculum that she had put together for Mason schools. So come over and learn more about the life-saving heart health program that she did. So thank you again for having us.
Sponsor today, and for being a corporate member. It's my pleasure to bring up Dr. Tony Rotary to update us on the Ghana service project. And we have some slides, and let's learn about the Ghana project. For all of you doing it and that part as well.
Thank you, Eric. If you would, President Eric, if you would just stand here for one moment, we would like to honor you and this extraordinary year that you've had, and for allowing us to be a part of your year on this most project. We have this beautiful stole made for you by the handcrafted by the artisans in Ghana. Esteemed Rotarians and guests, I am the co-founder of the Ghana Schools Project. Along with my husband, Dr. Archie, we have been proud Rotarians for the last 7 years. We are here today to share with you the impact of our collaborative work in Ghana, made possible through the Rotary Foundation of Cincinnati and the World Affairs Committee, and so many supporters, including many of you that are here today. Our mission since 1997 has been to enhance health and education in underserved Ghanaian communities by providing essential educational tools, medical supplies, hope, and training. This mission aligns directly with Rotary's areas of focus, promoting peace, fighting disease, supporting education, and growing local economies. In March of this year, we traveled to Ghana. We traveled to Ghana with a dynamic team of professionals and volunteers that you see listed on the slide. Together, we delivered critical supplies, led trainings, and empowered local communities around the Ashanti region. The past year, I'm not sure what happened. There we go. This past year has been very impactful. We delivered over 5,000 textbooks to 4 schools and essential tools to the deaf and blind school, which was a joy to go to. We also had a health screening for early intervention for malaria, AIDS, high blood pressure, diabetes, and more for 500 residents in a rural area, and other things that are listed here, including the 1,000 pounds of medical supplies that we had shipped in for 3 clinics. The University of Cincinnati Rotary team, 3 of them were with us, and I have to tell you, it was a joy to have them with us. Their efforts were recognized by the Rotary District 6670 with the 2025 Impact Award. And Sanjana, the president, has been named the Assistant Director Governor, District Governor for 2025-26 for the Rotary. That is very At this time, we will share a quick video with you and hear from Sanjana. Turn it up, please.
Hello, Rotarians. My name is Peggy Caldwell, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the University of Cincinnati Rotary Club. Through our partnership with the Ghana Schools Project, we had the incredible opportunity to serve students in Ghana by distributing toothbrushes, toothpaste, friendship bracelets, and postcards personally created by UC students. I was also fortunate to speak at a women's health seminar led by Dr. Rotary, an unforgettable experience that deepened my commitment to service. Being part part, the Ghana Schools Project 2025 team has been a journey of leadership, global service, and meaningful connection. We invite you to join us in making a lasting difference. Together, we can inspire change. One student, one clinic, one village at a time. Thank you.
The next slide is a short video. Okay. Next, I'll talk about a Rotary perspective by Brian Bowling, a board member of Rotary Club number 17, who had the privilege of going with us. He called the trip life-changing and eye-opening. His words reflect how this project doesn't just impact communities abroad, but deeply transforms the volunteers involved as well. And I will read a quote from Brian. The trip with Ghana Schools Project was life-changing and eye-opening. It's incredible how much we take the little things for granted that these people in Ghana do not have. Seeing how happy the people, especially the children in Ghana, are with less resources has made me appreciate everything that I have. I am so glad I was able to physically see the donations in the schools with Ghana Schools Project proudly labeled on them. Next, we will see a slide of us in Ghana and the impact, some of the impacts of this now.
We've had the opportunity to honor so many different activities and initiatives here in Ghana. We were at the Chipmunk and the CNC, and the Ghana Clinic, and Akuya Abrama Medical Center. And it has been an honor to present them with amazing textbooks and desks and painting of the schools and just so many personal hygiene items and medical supplies. It has been our honor. And not only that, but we thank our sponsors, the Evening Media from Cincinnati, Ohio, Plan & Company, Rotary at Cincinnati, led by Cable, Rotary at Cincinnati, World Affairs Committee, Rotary at Cincinnati Foundation, and of course, Middletown, Rotary of Middletown, and Cups and Ariel Miller. And of course, all of the friends of Ghana Schools Project that made contributions to make this happen. We are highly, highly honored. We also want to thank our board of directors for supporting our program, Dr. Julie Jones, Peggy Caldwell, and Brian Bowling, my husband and myself. We are just deeply honored to be a part of these wonderful children's lives that they can grow up and have an even playing field and hopefully be dispersed throughout Ghana and throughout the world. This is our future and this is why we do it. So we are honored. Thank you so very much. God bless you.
At the end, the kids actually did thank the Rotary Club. At this time, due to the time, we pause on questions. But if you're interested in learning any more about the Ghana Schools Project, or if you have any questions, please feel free to scan the QR code. At this time, we want to sincerely thank everyone who helped to make this mission possible. Starting with the Rotary Foundation of Cincinnati, President Brett LaBar. I don't believe he's here today. I want to ask the World Affairs Committee, if you're a part of it, to please stand. Our co-chair, John Farmeyer, and Tom Newman. Director of the World Affairs, please continue to stand. I'm not finished. The Director of the World Affairs Committee, Greg Hartley. I think I saw him. There he is. Yes, give him a hand. And our incredible team, we just thank thank you all for your support, and we are just honored to be a part of this Rotary Club. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause. Applause for the Rotaries. So as far as announcements, we do have the membership review committee in Hamilton, which is in the back corner. And we have some birthdays. June 4th, Julie Martini, Shirley Love, June 6th, Carl Bringer on June 7th, and Don Cashman on June 8th. I know Don's here, right over here. So let's sing a quick happy birthday shout out to all the birthdays, and especially Don, who's our present today. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday! And then I know the time you've been waiting for is split the pot. Justice Shanahan to pick the winning ticket. The winning ticket is a white ticket 508-975. 508-975. All right, represent.
You're right.
So for those of you who are playing, the pot was $42, the big pot was $356. So in the some upcoming dates, this week marked the beginning of the Rotary Camp Allen balloon rides. I know we heard about that recently. A beloved Cincinnati Rotary tradition for over 25 years. Every Tuesday evening throughout the summer, we offer tethered hot air balloon rides to the campers at Camp Allen. We depend on the donation of our club members' time to help with the setup rides and take down of the hot air balloon. This year, we will provide dinner for the volunteers before the balloon rides begin. Dinner will begin at 6 p.m. and we will begin setting up for the rides at 6:30 p.m. The rides are usually from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. We will meet between 6 to 6:30 in the Camp Allen parking lot. Contact Mark Sabine with any questions. If you're interested in coffee, we have our next neighborhood coffee on Tuesday, June 17th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. at King Pigeon on Gilbert Avenue. Feel free to bring a guest or prospective member. Our next Women in Rotary book discussion will be the Book of Gutsy Women, Favorite Stories of Courage and Resilience. Thank you to Janet Metzlar for hosting us at her Loveland home on Wednesday, June 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. Please bring a snack to share and your favorite beverage. RSVP and DAC TV. The Hands-On Service team is looking for volunteers to help make history once again at the Juneteenth Fireworks Festival Rodeo Edition on June 19th from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. This event is at the Woodlawn Community Center. Volunteers are needed for several positions. Sign up through the link in the E-Raise or contact Michelle Starr with any questions. It's my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Justice Peggy Shanahan. The format will be similar to previous meetings. We'll have some comments and then we'll have Q&A. Christy will walk around the mic and have your questions ready. We're pleased to kind of give the bio of Justice Shanahan. She was elected as the 165th Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court in 2024. She also served as a trial court judge for over a decade, including positions in the Hamilton County Municipal Court and the Hamilton County Court of Common Pleas. For her judicial career, she was a felony-level criminal prosecutor in Butler and Hamilton counties, successfully prosecuting over 50 jury trials, particularly focusing on crimes involving violent criminals who prey on children. In 2009, she received the Peggy Caldwell Award from the Cloak and Heels organization for her dedication to public safety and crime victims. More recently, in 2022, she testified in favor of a state constitutional amendment requiring judges to consider community safety when setting bond amounts, an amendment passed by 77% of Ohioans. Justice Shanahan earned her Bachelor's of Arts from Kent State University and her Juris Doctor from the University of Cincinnati College of Law. She actively engages with communities, supporting organizations like Cincinnati Living Hope, and delivering lectures to students and civic groups. She was born and raised in Western Pennsylvania as the youngest of 8 children in a working-class family. She is married and has 2 children, and I know she's a Cincinnati resident. It's my great pleasure to introduce Justice Peggy Shanahan. Welcome to Rotary.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to come to such a historic organization and talk about my history of it. Eric was educating me earlier on about how deep the roots for this particular Rotary Club go in our community, and it is incredibly impressive to learn about the outreach that you all do. So as a resident of Ohio, and particularly of Hamilton County, I thank you for everything that you're doing to help Hamilton County be a better place to live. As Eric explained, I am your newest Ohio Supreme Court Justice. I just won election last year in November, and I was very proud to be the top vote getter beside the presidential election here in Ohio. And I attribute that largely to my grassroots efforts. And, you know, it doesn't matter your political background. When you get involved in politics, you truly have to understand the importance of the people that you're serving and how they are the reason that we're here doing what we do. This is not an ego thing. This is not a paycheck thing. This is truly a public service thing. So why? Why did I do this? Why, the youngest of 8 kids, decide to take on a career in law and decide to ultimately run for your highest court? And that's what I wanted to share with you today, because I think that everybody in this room will know somebody, or they themselves are similar to me in their background and how they achieved everything that they've accomplished in their life and why. So as Eric indicated, I'm the youngest of 8 children, and I was raised by a single mother. We were all born within 12 years of each other, so all very close in age. And my father was an addict. So when I was 8 years old, for the safety of our family, my mother had to put him out of the house. He had to leave. So there she was with 8 children, and she barely graduated high school. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. If she was here, she would tell you that herself. So she went out and she got the best job that she could, which was at the equivalent of a local Hallmark store, a little card store. And the rest of us did, all the way down to me, go out and get gainful employment. I had a paper route. Every penny that came into that house went to keeping a roof over our heads. That's all we were trying to do. My oldest siblings who were in college were all at the local university or local community college, so they stayed at home and helped as well. But in pretty short order, you can imagine, things went south. I was in a Catholic grade school, and those were the days when the priest noticed somebody was missing and thought to reach out to the family and say, what's going on? So the priest called my mother and said, I've noticed Tom's not coming to church anymore and hasn't been for some time. You can't keep these kids in this school. There's no way you're going to be able to pay this tuition. So you're going to stop paying the tuition and just volunteer when you're able and keep sending the kids to school. That little act saved the 3 youngest from having to uproot our lives and go into a public school which was perfectly fine, but that we were unfamiliar with. Unfortunately, the bank is not so forgiving. Well, prior to this, my parents were both pretty active in our community, and because of that, they knew a lot of folks, a lot of community leaders. And frankly, when there are 8 children, everybody knows a shanty. Sometimes commissioner's desk, she recognized my mother's name. And she went home and she told her husband, who was a township commissioner, Ed, you have to do something. Billy's about to be put on the street with the kids. She's always helped us. She's always been engaged in the community. She's always shown up for anything that we ask. We have to help her. So this man came to our house and told my mother, the county is interviewing for an alarm room operator at the airport. There's a test you have to take, but we want you to take the test, and myself and the other commissioners are going to recommend you for the job. And my mother said, Ed, I can't take a test. I'll never pass. I couldn't possibly do this. And he said, oh no, we're going to come and prepare you for the test. We're going to come and help you study. And these men came to our home and sat with my mother, teaching her what she needed to know, preparing her to take this test. She took the test, passed the test. They recommended her for the job. She got the job. She retired from that job after 32 years. She had a pension for the first time in her life. For the first time in our lives, we had medical benefits. It made an enormous difference. The single act of that woman going home and telling her husband what she learned at work, and that man getting his other co-workers saying we have to help, that single act saved my family. And we never forgot that. We all continued to work very hard. For my mother, the question wasn't, where are you going to college? It was, you are going to college. You are going to pay for it yourself, so how are we going to do this? Now that didn't work out for all of my siblings, but most of us did stick with it, and those who didn't went into the trades. All of us have remained gainfully employed, contributing citizens, because we understood what it was like to stand on the brink of absolute poverty. But we also all figured out we had to give back. And how? How do you do that? How do you repay your community who did something so enormous for you, something breathtaking? And I never really knew. I couldn't figure it out. I have a brother who's a police officer, a sister who's a special ed teacher. Everyone had figured out their way. I went off to Kent State because I wanted to be a pilot. That's all I ever wanted to do. But again, navigating these waters on my own, about 2 years in, the bursar's office calls and says, you're signed up for flight lessons, but we haven't gotten the other $15,000 we need from you for you to take flight lessons. I was just a kid. I hadn't looked into it. I didn't realize I was going to have to pay on top of tuition. And that just wasn't an option. And I'd been taking some political science classes, and I really enjoyed it. So I switched my career, and I went into political science and pre-law. And the next logical step was law school. I came here to the University of Cincinnati and had a tremendous experience. It really was, that is a gem. That university is a true gem in this country, and it's almost the best kept secret. Small classes, really great instructors, a really good community. So I was blessed with that. And as I was there, the only thing I knew, I did not want to have anything to do with criminal law. Anything else. I really wanted to be a medical malpractice attorney. I had been interning with a fellow who actually lives in this building, Joe Shea, and I just really enjoyed that work. So that's what I thought I was going to do. I graduated and I took a job with a company out in Milford called the Midland Group. And while I was awaiting the start of that position, I took a vacation. And I got a phone call from the Butler County Prosecutor's Office while I was on vacation. And if anybody who's here is from Butler County and grew up there, you will know this story. There was a very long time Butler County prosecutor, John Holcomb, and he dropped over dead at the racetrack. And his first assistant had to jump into this race. In a short period of time, in 3 months, he was going to be on the ballot. He found my resume stuffed in the back of a drawer because I tried and tried to get a job there when I was in law school because I had guy friends, keyword being guy. I had guy friends who worked there, and they actually got to practice law. They got to these things called limited license, and they'd go and prosecute speeding tickets and little theft cases and stuff. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I'll go and get some courtroom experience. But I could never get a phone call. Ultimately, I had learned that the powers that be previously felt like women didn't belong in the courtroom. And so that's why I didn't get a call. But this new fella found my, probably 5 copies of my resume stuck on the floor. And he called me. And I took the interview just to have interview experience. Why not? Meet some new folks. I already have a job. I went up and I interviewed, and it was the craziest interview I have ever experienced in my life. The prosecutor showed up 45 minutes late. His hair is on end, is all, mussed up. And he's asking me these very shotgun questions. What do you want to do? Where do you want to do it? How are you going to? Well, we don't do that. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. Finally, he said, look, do you want a job here or not? Did you not? And I have no idea, other than the divine intervention of the Lord himself, what possessed me to say, yes, I did. Well, all of a sudden, I had 2 jobs. That is not a good place to be as a new lawyer. You need 1 job. I went home and I called my law school advisor. Again, tremendous UC resource. And I told him what I had done. And he said, hey, do me a favor. Call your contact at the Midland Group and tell them what you just did. And see what they say. And I thought, what in the world? Their heads are going to explode. Why would I do this? Okay, I trust you. I called my contact at the Midland Group, and he said, you made the right choice. You're a litigator through and through, and you're not going to see the inside of a courtroom for many years to come if you work here. Go to the prosecutor's office, get some experience, cut your teeth, come back to us in 3 to 5 years, and the sky's the limit. All right, I've got a plan. So I go to the prosecutor's office in Butler County, and within 1 year, I'm in felony court, prosecuting major felony offenders. By year 3, I did a capital murder case. I tried the largest child pornography case to date in Butler County. And I fell in love with criminal law. But it was during those times, because I did do all of the adult obscenity and all of the child pornography cases, on top of a regular docket of murders and drugs and thefts, because I did all those specialized cases, I got to practice in front of every judge in Butler County. There were 5. And it was then, once again, that I realized there is an answer for how I'm going to give back. I saw these jurists that were so plugged into their community, that so wanted to better Butler County, that so wanted to help the people who just needed help. They didn't need prison, they needed help. And I said, that's it. That's how I'm going to give back to my community. Well, I ain't nobody and I didn't come from nothing. And in Butler County, pretty much everybody who worked there was born there 5 generations ago. So I just set about doing work, helping around politically wherever I could. And I did that year after year. But in 2005, there was a change in our Hamilton County prosecutor's office, and the newly returning prosecutor, Joe Dieters, reached out to me and said, I want you to come and work here. You want to be a judge, and there are 16 common pleas court judges here and only 5 in Butler County. You come here, you work for me, I will help you. And you want to be a judge. And so that was the deal. I came down here, but once again, I ain't nobody and I didn't come from nothing. So I just set about helping other people. And year after year, working on anybody else's campaign that I could to get experience in helping. And in 2010, I was given an opportunity. And let me tell you what an opportunity it was. Nobody else wanted to do it. Nobody else wanted to run against a 27-year incumbent who had just been appointed from municipal court up to common pleas. So I said, this is my opportunity, I'll do it. And everybody said, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell. Why would you spend a year of your life doing this? And I said, I have to take the opportunity when it presents itself. And I did. And all of those volunteers that I worked with for all of those 10 years prior came out for me. Because I did everything I asked them to do right next to them. We rolled out 3,500 yard signs in one weekend because people believed in me. People saw that I had the fire in the belly and I wanted to do something right. So, fast forward, come election night, Eric, what happened? What happened? I lost. I lost. But I came within 4 percentage points of unseating a 27-year incumbent. And I just never stopped. It wasn't going to end there. So I turned around the next year and I ran again. And I won with 67% of the vote. And I just never stopped. This was the opportunity. I served on the municipal court for 4 years, and then was appointed back to the court where I had practiced my whole career, common pleas. And I absolutely love the common pleas trial court. I went in there with so much energy and excitement. I was the mental health court judge for a period of time until I got pregnant, and frankly, it wasn't fair to the mental health clients because I wasn't going to be there for 4 months or whatever, and then it's a wild schedule. Any of you that have had young children, you know. But I loved that time. I loved the opportunity of giving back. I loved when I would get a defendant who would come back a year later, 2 years later, and say, "Do you remember me? If you wouldn't have done A, B, and C, Judge, I'd be dead. If you wouldn't have done X, Y, and Z, my parents wouldn't even be talking to me, and now we live together." It was so incredibly rewarding. And I knew, I said, that's it. That's how I'm giving back to my community. That's how this youngest of 8, single mom, addict dad, ain't nobody, didn't come from nothing. I can do something. I have something to offer my community. And I consistently talk to young folks like Anika, who really have bright futures. Not everybody's going to come to the table, as we all know in this room, with the same benefits, but we all have something to offer. So fast forward to 2022, and I was running for re-election to my seat, which I did win. But during that time, as Eric had mentioned, I got on board with a state initiative that requires judges to consider public safety when setting bonds. You all are plugged into the community and you understand the impact of crime. It is tremendous. If we take our eye off the prize of keeping our streets safe, we lose everything. We lose residents, we lose lives, we lose businesses, we lose tourism, we lose everything if we don't have safe streets. So when this opportunity arose, and I was the only judge in the state of Ohio to say, I will go and testify in front of the House and Senate Judiciary Committee. I was the only judge who went and did that to save them. I see it every day. I sit on the bench. I go through the hundreds of cases of criminals. You have to have eyes on those people to understand this is somebody I can trust out on bond. This is somebody I cannot. This is somebody that has to be locked up for the safety of our community. And judges need to have that tool in their toolbox to be able to say, I believe in my heart of hearts and my experience, this person should not be on the streets right now. That's all I fought for. And yes, it passed with 77% of the voters because, let's be honest, it's common sense. But this is what else I learned during that time. What I thought was going to be my retirement job was not me. I traveled the state of Ohio, and we are unbelievably blessed here. I don't think that the people on TikTok or Instagram have any idea what they're talking about when they make fun of Ohio. This, much like UC, is the best kept secret. We have truly great residents, great businesses, great organizations, beautiful country. And you travel to Southeast Ohio, and you look in the eyes of the people who live there, who have been ravished by the drug trade, who have lost children and grandchildren and businesses. And you realize, this is all so much bigger than me, but I need to be a part of it. I need to be a part of that solution to keep Ohio safe, strong, prosperous. And that's what it's all about. I love my new job. I really do enjoy what I'm doing in the Supreme Court. We only take in 10% of the cases that are brought to us. We review thousands and thousands of cases a year, but there is a mere 10% that meet the criteria to come before the Supreme Court. It is the court of last resort. And I knew I needed to be there. I knew I needed to be one of the people that was the guardian of Ohio. I knew that this is it. This is the retirement job where I know that I can give back for so many years to come. I appreciate everything that you do, and I know everybody in this room knows a young person, and I encourage you to tell them the sky is the limit. I don't think we are really reinforcing with our children that you can dream big. You can do it all. You can, particularly as young women, have it all. I had an 8 and 11-year-old at home. I had kids when I was very old. I thought I was smart. I thought I would be, really patient. I'm just exhausted. That's all. I'm just extra tired. But it's my duty to instill in them that being around strong women is a positive thing for my son. That my daughter can do anything. And taking that time with just the few young people that you know, getting them off of the electronics and out of the garbage and out of the absolute soul suck that is social media. Get them to look at you and understand you actually know what you're talking about. And everything wasn't handed to you. Everybody's had their trials and tribulations. Share that with them. Because we have an entire generation out there that doesn't believe any of us understands what they're going through. They're our future, and our future is really bright. But we better invest in them, and we better invest in them now. That's what I'm doing. That's what I hope my service to you and to my family is during my time on the court. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me share my story with you. I hope that it will inspire somebody that you know to really shoot for the stars. And I would love to take questions.
Jesse Gibbs, visiting guest.
Yes.
I have two questions. One, what do you think is the most important thing that we should be paying attention to when it comes to the court, the systems, things of that particular nature? The first question. Second question is, how do you see the role of state courts in this age where there's kind of this polarization taking place at the federal level?
So to answer the first question, I would say the most important thing that you want to keep an eye on, because let's be honest, most folks don't know who their judges are. And I've never lost sight of that. You never get a big ego, you shouldn't in this job, because literally, I can walk down the street and stop. 9 out of 10 people will not know a single judge's name other than the United States Supreme Court. So the most important thing to keep an eye on is educating yourself on the people who are there and what they're doing. Because the politicization of our court system is going to destroy this country. When we have the lanes of travel, executive, judicial, legislative, everybody needs to stay in their lane and do their job. And that's where, again, what you're referring to for your second question is this constant crossover between the lanes. And I think that we've become a country of folks who don't want to have a conversation, they just want to shout others down. We need to get back to the time when we could have a civil disagreement on the ways things should be done, on politics, on life, on personal decisions. We can have civil disagreement. The problem is a big part of it, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, is the media. If it leads type of things, sex sells, those types of things. All the negative, shouting nastiness is what gets covered. What you need to get in touch with is more your local officials who are truly trying to make our community better, but then keeping them honest, frankly, all of us. Everybody needs to stay in touch with their constituents in their community. But if the community doesn't care who your elected officials are, the elected officials are left to do what they want. Their own criteria to come before the Supreme Court. It is the court of last resort. And I knew I needed to be there. I knew I needed to be one of the people that was the guardian of Ohio. I knew that this is it. This is the retirement job where I know that I can give back for so many years to come. I appreciate everything that you do, and I know everybody in this room knows a young person, and I encourage you to tell them the sky is the limit. I don't think we are really reinforcing with our children that you can dream big. You can do it all. You can, particularly as young women, have it all. I had an 8 and 11-year-old at home. I had kids when I was very old. I thought I was smart. I thought I would be, really patient. I'm just exhausted. That's all. I'm just extra tired. But it's my duty to instill in them that being around strong women is a positive thing for my son. That my daughter can do anything. And taking that time with just the few young people that you know, getting them off of the electronics and out of the garbage and out of the absolute soul suck that is social media. Get them to look at you and understand you actually know what you're talking about. And everything wasn't handed to you. Everybody's had their trials and tribulations. Share that with them. Because we have an entire generation out there that doesn't believe any of us understands what they're going through. They're our future, and our future is really bright. But we better invest in them, and we better invest in them now. That's what I'm doing. That's what I hope my service to you and to my family is during my time on the court. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me share my story with you. I hope that it will inspire somebody that you know to really shoot for the stars. And I would love to take questions.
Jesse Gibbs, visiting guest.
Yes.
I have 2 questions. One, what do you think is the most important thing that we should be paying attention to when it comes to the court, the systems, things of that particular nature? The first question. Second question is, how do you see the role of state courts in this age where there's kind of this polarization taking place at the federal level?
So the And I've never lost sight of that. You never get a big ego, you shouldn't in this job, because literally I could walk down the street and stop. 9 out of 10 people will not know a single judge's name other than the United States Supreme Court. So the most important thing to keep an eye on is educating yourself on the people who are there and what they're doing. Because the politicization of our court system is going to destroy this country. When we have the lanes of travel, executive, judicial, legislative, everybody needs to stay in their lane and do their job. And that's where, again, what you're referring to for your second question is this constant crossover between the lanes. And I think that we've become a country of folks who don't want to have a conversation, they just want to shout others down. We need to get back to the time when we could have a civil disagreement on the ways things should be done, on politics, on life, on personal decisions. We can have civil disagreement. The problem is a big part of it, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, is the media. If it leads type of things, sex sells, those types of things. All the negative, shouting nastiness is what gets covered. What you need to get in touch with is more your local officials who are truly trying to make our community better, but then keeping them honest, frankly, all of us. Everybody needs to stay in touch with their constituents in their community. But if the community doesn't care who your elected officials are, the elected officials are left to do what they want, their own will, and that's not right either. We serve the people.
Megan, I appeared before you a few times when I practiced law doing workers' comp court appeals, and I often wondered what the breakdown was with respect to civil and criminal. Years ago, I asked a fellow friend of mine who represented the Bureau of Workers' Comp, I said, what's your breakdown? 50-50? He says, oh no, Jim. 75% of my docket is criminal, 25% civil. I spend all my time with civil work. And we end up a lot with these visiting judges. And to me, that's an area that's been, my estimation, and a lot of my fellow lawyers agree with me, that's been overlooked, and some of the people who have served as a VJ really bring into question what the Supreme Court is doing with nominating some of those people. I don't know if that issue has ever come before you now that you're on the Supreme Court, but I would certainly participate in any kind of committee that would look into how the VJs are selected and whether or not there's a criteria to judge their performances here in Hamilton County and the other counties around us. What do you think?
I think the percentages are accurate. I think that but you're looking at volume too. Those criminal cases crank through. So when you're saying 60-40 or 70-30, the civil cases are heavy, they're deep, they take a lot of time to deal with. And I will say for one, I think that the VJ system was abused for a long time. We had a lot of jurists who felt, hey, I don't want to deal with this civil case. It's no fun. It's going to take up too much time, whatever. I never took that tact. I sent 2 cases, one by request of both sides of the party. The big Rumpke dump case had to go to a VJ, and then the Durrani cases, I guess 3, the popcorn flavoring, because those were, all the cases were combined. It was a multi-case situation. You can have jurists who actually do their docket. I did a 7-week medical malpractice jury trial. 7 weeks to the day, start to finish. And I still kept my criminal docket going. You just need judges who are diligent and are willing to do the work. And again, that goes back to learning what their reputation, their history is, and then voting, carrying that out, talking to your friends. The civil work is equally as important as the criminal. It is just different. And I think that we lose sight of that because the criminal work is what gets the headlines, the criminal work is interesting. I believe that the current Chief Justice has made great strides in cleaning up the visiting judge situation because you no longer have a judge sitting down the hallway waiting to take whatever case that somebody just doesn't feel like they want to deal with. Now, the court has to petition the Supreme Court and explain exactly why you need an assigned judge. And then that case is permanently assigned to that judge. It never goes back to the original judge. So it also keeps the assigned judge, the visiting judge, honest. But I would love to include you in any conversations that we're having. I know that was one of the chiefs, and she just became the chief in 22, but that was one of her big moves, was to clean up that VJ situation because it was being abused by the local judiciary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a question about what would you tell a young person who A, wants to become a lawyer, and B, wants to become a criminal defense lawyer?
Well, that's interesting. Frank and I were just talking about that, and I gave him my card because his son's sort of on that similar path, wanting to be a judge as well. What I would say is we need good lawyers. I have always hated when I hear lawyers telling young people, oh, don't do this. There are too many lawyers in the world. It's such a jaded view. We need good lawyers who are very dedicated to the job. The rural areas in Ohio are lacking horribly in representation, both civil and criminal. And we are starting an initiative, it's already begun in the Supreme Court, to encourage young lawyers to take positions in these rural counties to serve them. In exchange, there'll be funds to pay off their loans, a portion of their loans. So when you have somebody who's young who wants to be a criminal defense lawyer, I mean, the best way to the sort of boot camp is you get in with the local public defender's office. Because then you really truly get a wide array of cases for a while. And a lot of those folks who go into that line of work in the public defender's office, then they spin off and open their own firms. And then they have private clients who hire them to do defense work. So I say this, we desperately need good lawyers who are going to uphold the Constitution and make sure an individual's constitutional rights are protected. The best lawyers are the ones that fight hard for their clients. As a prosecutor, the last thing I ever wanted was a defense lawyer that was going to roll over or not do his job, because the case is just going to come back on appeal then, and we have to do it over again. So, public defender's office is a great start, and then spinning it off into a private career.
Justin, thank you for being with us today, and I appreciate this information. It's a great story, and I'm surprised by when you said 10% of the cases in Ohio come to the Supreme Court. It's like amazing. My whole life I've heard people be all worked up saying, I'm going to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. It's like you guys really are choosing and picking on which ones you take. So, well, what is the criteria that they have to meet so next time somebody tells you
You have a 1 in 10 shot, buddy. It has to be a question of constitutional impact. It has to involve something where precedent hasn't already been set by us or by appellate courts that is a constitutional issue. Or it has to be a case of great public importance, sort of a hot, big topic type of case that hasn't yet been addressed. My favorite cases to deal with are the cases where we have a conflict in the districts. Because below the Supreme Court, we have 12 district courts of appeal here in Ohio. And those often you'll have conflicting decisions. The 1st district and the 12th district, which are right next to each other, will have very different decisions coming out. Then you have an issue where people are cherry picking where they want to file their case, if they can just find a hook in the county where they think they're going to get a good court of appeals for their case. So we try to resolve those quickly so that folks around the state understand the rules. What's the lay of the land? Some cases come to us outright. Any death penalty case comes to us automatically. And then any public utility commission case comes to us. Of course, we deal with all of the Board of Professional Conduct, the misbehaving lawyer cases. We do all of those. So the big category is a constitutional issue that hasn't yet been decided, or it is of great public interest and importance.
Thank you, Justice. Welcome. We're glad that you're here. We met Michael Schatzman. He's recruiting people. Does the judiciary have any leverage to keep the other two branches of government in their lane? And can you help legislators legislate so they don't force the judiciary to legislate in the bench?
So, that second question is, hey, if you get the answer to that, you're going to be a billionaire. We don't have any mechanism by which to force others to stay in their lane. All we can do is lead by example. Don't let them come into our lane, we don't go into their lane. We can't, nor do we want to control the executive or the legislative branch. The legislative issues, legislative problems are huge, and it is quite the process, and it seems like the further you get into it, the harder it gets to unravel. So I understand what you're saying by, can you teach them to make good laws so that we don't have to legislate from the bench? The way that we deal with that often is when they put us in that position is we say, we're not, and we make it abundantly clear. We are doing A, B, and C because the legislature has said we have to do A, B, and C, even though X, Y, and Z may make a lot more sense. And what happens then is you get the conversation rolling about changes in legislation, because there are a lot of unanticipated consequences of legislation. And until it's enacted and then we're out, the boots hit the ground, you don't realize, oh geez, I didn't mean for it to impact that way. Well, then it's back to the drawing board. It's a process, and it is, I always say it's like making sausage. It isn't pretty, you don't want to see it, but we put out a really good product at the end. But the truth of the matter is, it's the best system in the world. You just can't argue that. This country, the United States, we are so lucky that we have these three distinct, separate branches of government to keep each other in check.
So we want to thank you again for presenting. I think you're on for your, I feel like we're going to see you running for governor or president one day. The theme for this Rotary year, every president at Rotary National, which is 1.4 million throughout the world, can pick a theme. And this year's theme is Magic Rotary. And you are certainly bringing magic to the state of Ohio and to our area. Your story is inspiring, and as we walk away, please take that story and, as Justice Shanahan said, let's have faith in our next generation and bring them up and have them shine. So I know that they're the future leaders of our country. We, two things. One, we're making a donation in your name to End Polio Now, an inaugural speech today. We're this close to ending this, and we work with the Bill Gates Foundation to eradicate polio throughout the world. We're very close to eradication throughout the world. We're also going to give you a Rotary Club of Cincinnati coin, which has a beautiful skyline you can see out of the doors here, and then also a four-way test that past President Carl Kapp has recited today to remember today's speech. We want to honor you.
So
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
It's a Rotary tradition to swarm the speaker. She will stay here after for any questions. We have the membership review committee in the Highlands room. Make sure you sign up for the change in the guard just next Thursday by Friday at 5 o'clock. Have a great Rotary week.